Okay, so in this video, I'll be showing you how to use Live's Arpeggiator MIDI effect. This MIDI effect allows us to take a MIDI chord and split it into its individual notes and play these back in a user-defined sequence, and it's a great way of creating some extra melodic material. So first of all, this is the sound I'll be using. It's the OK Choral Keys preset. Sounds something like this. And what we need now is a MIDI chord to use as source material for us to arpeggiate. So what I want to do is I'm going to capture the output of the chords that we used earlier. If we take a look at the MIDI clip here, you'll remember that we only had single notes here. This is because we were feeding them through the chord device, and this was creating our MIDI chords. But what we can do is take the output of the chord device and capture this as MIDI. So what I'm going to do is come to my keys channel. Under MIDI from, I need to select this drop-down menu and then select chords high. And that means that the MIDI from this channel is going to be fed through to this channel, and we'll be able to capture the chords and then use these to arpeggiate. So let's make sure we've record armed. I'll solo this, and then let's hit record. Okay, so let's take that off solo, put our new keys channel in solo, and double click, and you can see that on the clip, we have captured those chords as MIDI. I'm just going to be using the first chord to arpeggiate, so let's delete these here. And let's tidy up the MIDI a little bit. What I'd like to do is hit Command A and Command U to quantize the notes. If you remember, we had that strum effect on the chords, so all the notes are hitting at different times. But for this, I'd like them all to hit at the same time, and also to be the same length as well. If I hover over the end here and click and drag, I can tidy up the note lengths and snap them to the grid so they match each other. And let's have a listen. So there you go. We've got our MIDI chord that we can now use to arpeggiate. So next up, I need to add the Arpeggiator MIDI effect. To do this, come to Library, MIDI Effects, and then double click Arpeggiator at the top here, and that will load it onto our track. And let's just solo to have a listen to the effect of the Arpeggiator in its default setting. So let's start changing some of the settings to tweak this a little bit. So the first thing I'm noticing is that sounds a little bit slow. If I come down to the rate dial here, I'm going to go up to 1/16 here. This will play back a little bit quicker. So that's sounding better, especially in context with the rest of our parts. The next thing I'd like to do is add some groove as well, as the rest of our track has groove. So if I come down here, click straight and change this to swung 16ths. Already that's sounding a lot more groovy and fits in with the rest of the material. So next, I'd like to adjust the steps parameter. And what this is going to do is repeat the sequence up by a defined amount of notes, which is governed by the distance dial here. So I put the steps up to 1, and the distance we've got at 12 semitones by default. And I'm going to leave it there because that sounds quite nice. And what this will do is play through our arpeggio and then play it again up an octave. Let's just have a listen to this. The next thing I'm going to do is come into our clip, and I'm actually going to lengthen this just so we get more of that arpeggiator effect. The longer the MIDI notes are, the more the arpeggiator effect will carry on and repeat. So let's drag this to here and have a listen. So that's sounding really nice. You can hear that repeats further up the octave now. The next thing I'd like to do is I'd actually prefer to remove this top D here and just have a simple E, G, B, E minor triad. So that's sounding pretty good. I'm going to adjust the steps though, because you noticed it was going up and then dropping back down the octave. I want it to continue going up the octaves. So if I change the steps to 2 and then have a listen here. So that's perfect. That's exactly what I'm after. You'll notice that I've stayed on the default up pattern where it's repeating the notes upwards in pitch sequence. We can change this though, either by using the arrows here or by using the drop down here. For example, let's try this down and up pattern. And we can see by the display here, this is going to repeat the notes down in pitch and then back up in pitch. Of course, still with that octave jump in there. So there's plenty of different options for the arpeggiator here, and I encourage you to experiment with them. However, for the purpose of this, I really like just the simple up pattern. Let's have a listen to that in context. And we can refine this further by using the gate. This effectively changes the individual note lengths of our arpeggiated notes. So let's put this all the way down just to the bottom to have a listen. Then open the gate up. To be honest, I liked it roughly around where it was at the default at 50%. So I'm really happy with how this arpeggiator is sounding. Let's have one more listen to this in context. Okay, so that's how we can use the arpeggiator MIDI effect to split a MIDI chord up into its individual notes, play them back in a user-defined sequence, and create some really interesting melodic material to add to our track.
Hi, my name is Ski Okafor, Head of Education and Curriculum here at Point Blank Music School in London. This is just a taster of what you can get from our free course. Head over to pointblankmusicschool.com now to access the rest of the videos.